What's up, everyone? This is Zach from May, and you're listening to the Rumors Are True podcast.
Welcome, this is Jeremy Allen Gould, and I'm coming to you today to confirm between God and of man that the rumors you have all heard are true. I started this podcast to have a platform for the bands and artists that I've worked with in the past, as well as new musicians and artists that influenced myself and many others. The Rumors Are True podcast is an opportunity for the artists to tell their story their way. I'm still in the business of confirming rumors. I still love a good conversation, and I still freaking love music. So thanks again for joining me on this journey, and I hope you like what you hear. With that said, the rumors are definitely true.
Meet me at the shore. Should it be halfway? I've got a feeling we could set tonight, and then let it rain this way. Now write it on the wall. Never been to go when I see it turning. Oh yeah, it's turning. You better believe it's turning. Now build a ship that will never sink as long as I'm alive. When I see the sails, I'll come running to you. We'll kiss for the very first time. Yeah, if you come back home, I'll fall into your arms. The plans of me will open graves red wine. I'm just walking dead, he's right there. Love is so direct, so exactly what I'm waiting for.
Thank you for tuning in to this latest episode of the Rumors Are True podcast. My name is Jeremy, and today I welcome Chris Cargile. You know Chris from the band Chasing Victory. Awesome conversation. So honored to have Chris take his time to spend with me and tell me about his past and his future upcoming. So I hope you enjoy this latest episode with Chris Cargile.
If you come back home, I'll fall into your arms. The plans of me will open graves red wine.
Chris, what is up, my friend? Thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yes, man, absolutely. What's going on in your world, man? What's happening in your world right now?
Oh, gosh. Right now, well, I'm a father of 3 young girls. Shout out to Lucy, Mary Grace, and Frances, married to Jennifer.
Woo-hoo.
I am, great family. So a lot of softball, basketball for the kids.
Yes. Yes.
I just go cheer them on. I am a psychotherapist at Sojourn Counseling, specialize in trauma work. But yeah, so that's my day to day. Like when we get done, I'll have a marriage counseling session. Not for my marriage, but I'll be doing it.
That's cool. How did you get into the counseling and that's really interesting.
Yeah, that was, it's funny how, I guess, what started it, I think was my favorite movie for the longest time. It's still one of my favorite was, Good Will Hunting.
Great movie.
Oh gosh, I love that movie. And I even have a picture of Robin Williams up in my office. But seeing that dynamic, I was like, I don't know how you get to do that, but that's what I want to do. And that, I remember when Chasing Victory was coming to a close, I was like, I knew that that's the direction I wanted to go. So I was going to have to go back to school and do all that. So yeah, it's taken a while, but I'm part of a practice here in Birmingham, Alabama, and Sojourn Counseling. If anybody wants to reach out.
That's awesome, man. That's so cool. That's it's so funny how in 2024, back in the day it was kind of looked down on, having therapy or mental health. And now in 2024, it's not only welcomed, it's encouraged, and I think it's beautiful that, people have the opportunity to unload a lot of the trauma, the grief, and all that stuff, and it's really beneficial to them as a whole going forward. And I think it's a beautiful thing that you're a part of that.
Yeah, it's extremely rewarding when you see.
I'm sure it is.
A lot of days it's extremely frustrating and depressing. Sure. You get a lot of secondhand trauma, depression, stuff like that. So I'll often go home, cry in the shower for a little bit. And,
no, it takes a special person to do it, honestly. You know.
Yeah, but I think that's a gift God has given me.
Absolutely, that's totally.
I've always had an interest in people and listening, so it was kind of a natural fit to take that natural personality type I already had and go in this direction.
That's so cool. Do you think being in a touring band at some point kind of prepared you somewhat for that? I mean, do you think it kind of influenced it in some way?
Yeah, that's a great question. It definitely got what I had in me from when I was a young kid, that desire to travel, play music. It got it out of my system to where I think I could be more settled and in one place.
Yeah.
If I'd have thought of this as a teenager, I would have wanted to die because all I wanted to do was be in a band and travel. Sure. But as far as preparing me, yes, it exposed me to so much of, I guess, the United States, especially in Canada. We never went anywhere outside of North America. But it definitely gave me the opportunity to talk to people, and I think hearing people's stories, people, of course, as I did when I was a kid, I wanted to talk to the band and connect with them. And so being able to do that for people, and you start asking them questions, and people will be vulnerable with you. And that's a gift.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's cool, man. I love hearing that. It's just encouraging to, see you in a different phase of your life, but it's not only benefiting yourself, it's benefiting others. So I just think that's cool. I mean, it's a world I don't know other than going to a therapist.
Yeah.
But, it definitely is intriguing and respectable, and it's just awesome that, God's placed you in a position to benefit people's lives. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So sweet, man. Well, let's talk about when you and I actually met. I booked Chasing Victory, I want to say 3 or 4 times at least, in Wichita, Kansas at the Eagles Lodge. And I feel like it was with like the Showdown maybe one time, or Sullivan.
We did play there with the Showdown, I know. I think that was on the Southern Thunder tour, whatever.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
With Maylene.
Yeah, well, Maylene wasn't on our side, but because I've never booked them at least. But either way, I just remember vividly not knowing who you guys were when I was booking, and then seeing you guys and being like blown away and being like, "What? Who is this band?" And I remember the crowds like losing their minds like when you guys were playing, and it was so cool to see it from an outside perspective. Like, I knew a lot of the bands I booked, but, some of them I didn't, because I would be like 4 or 5 band bills and I don't know all.
Yeah.
But there would be some that would kind of stick out, and you guys are definitely one of those, that stuck out for me.
Oh, well, that's awesome to hear. I remember, Wichita was always awesome. I remember we filmed our first video, I believe in Wichita.
Really? Where at?
Oh, I forgot the young gentleman's name. Taylor something?
Yeah, Taylor Poole.
Yes. He did
I know
him. Your Guardian Fell Asleep. He did that. And I think that's near Wichita, or
that's exactly where he lived. I think he lived near. Yeah, he lived right outside the city. But yeah, he used to go to the shows there. Yeah.
So he recorded that video, and there was this other guy I met through him who was hilarious. He had a lightning bolt tattooed on his. Well, wait. I don't know who all listens to this. Sorry. On his private area. I don't know if you remember this guy.
Was he tall?
Yeah.
His name's Ronnie.
I
do know.
It.
Yeah.
I know.
I hate to say no. I know that, but I know that. Yeah.
And I remember he told me so he could say "Ride the Lightning."
That's incredible.
I'm so sorry.
No, we're good. We're good. You're fine.
I don't mean to take this crude, but for some reason, that's when I think of Wichita and the Eagles.
Eagles Lodge, yeah.
Eagles Lodge. Oh, that's also, I think, one of those times we played there. That's when I found out that Steve Irwin had died.
Really? Wow.
Yes, I remember being there when I got the news. I may be conflating memories, but that's how it's stored in my mind right now.
That's so cool. I mean, not cool that he died, but that's an interesting anecdote, you know. That's awesome. Very cool. Yeah. Well, I enjoyed booking you guys. It was awesome. It was really cool to see you guys kind of come through. And I think the more and more you came through, it's like we got familiar with each other, and it was just a cool – I knew, hey, these guys are coming through. It's going to be a cool show, you know, that type of thing. So – let's talk about growing up for you, man. Maybe some records, some bands, some influences, maybe even some shows that kind of pushed you in the direction of wanting to be in a band and music in your life.
Okay, absolutely. Music has always been a big part of my life, and I can thank my parents and siblings for that. My parents, huge music fans. And it was kind of a weird time in the 90s because we were part of a very conservative evangelical church culture in which, you know, secular music was somewhat frowned upon.
Looked down on, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but at least in our house, the music of 60s and 70s was played all the time. So I remember being young and hearing Supertramp's Breakfast in America, Simon and Garfunkel, Jimi Hendrix, Led Zeppelin. My dad is a guitar player. He taught me to play guitar. He was a drummer in our church. My mom grew up a hippie and loved going to concerts. I know she got to see Queen.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles several times. So I grew up in that environment. They were very supportive of music and me playing music. So I really have them to thank. And then my older sister kind of got me into, I guess, more current music in the 90s. Yeah. So, you know, she would have CDs and she'd have to drive me around places. So that's where I heard Third Eye Blind, Dave Matthews. I remember Tonic, you know, Fiona Apple. Those were huge. And I would also say, I remember going over to a friend's house. This is a very seminal memory and record for me is Nirvana's Nevermind.
Great record.
And my parents were a little more skeptical of, you know, things like Nirvana. I don't think they quite understood it at the time. And there was a little bit of danger associated with. So I had a friend who made me a cassette of Nevermind. And I remember playing it in my room on like volume 1 with my ear pressed up against the speaker. Just like, cause I wasn't sure how they would respond. But overall they were very supportive. It was a great childhood. I grew up next door to Michael Sasser from With Blood Cleansing.
I know Michael. He lives down here.
Yeah, I know he's been on the show before. So we grew up best friends. We went to the same church. His dad was our children's pastor at our church. So I grew up with him and his 2 older brothers. You know, playing lots of sports in the backyard. So that's also how we got into playing music together. Him and our friend Cliff, who went on to play in Remove the Veil on Face Down Records. So those are seminal records of childhood, but I'll tell you what got me into music more related to where Chasing Victory kind of came out of was being sick one night, and I couldn't go to sleep. MTV2 had, you know, we're playing music videos late at night, and At the Drive-In came on. It was when they had just put out Relationship of Command. I think that was the name of the record.
Yeah, great record.
One Armed Scissor came on, and I lost my mind. I've never heard anything like that. Yeah. So it was that got me like into more hardcore, post-hardcore kind of music, knowing that there was such a thing. And then, do you want me to keep going? Or?
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, you do.
But yes, then, you know, in youth group, we had a cool, youth pastor, which I love saying cool youth pastor, which seems like an oxymoron, but he was awesome. I'm sure he was, I don't know, maybe he was cheesy, but to me it was really cool. And he was really into like tooth and nail, solid state stuff. And they would play, like, they had these DVDs of all these solid state video and tooth and nail videos from, like, you know, the early 90s to early 2000s. And so I got into Dogwood, which I listened to your interview. I've already told you this, but I listened to your interview with,
Josh.
I think it was Josh from Dogwood, and it brought back so many memories.
That's so cool, dude.
That band was huge for me.
Great band.
Ah, man. Yeah. Me and Michael, I mean, we listened to Building a Better Me, More Than Conquerors, Matt Aragon record. I mean, those three were massive. Stavesacre, Speakeasy Records, still
Great record.
is a banger. And so our youth pastor would take us to concerts in Atlanta, shows, I guess more like it, because it was like Stavesacre, Project 86. Saw them several times, and we ended up getting to tour with Project 86.
That's cool.
So I guess we can come back to that. But yeah, they were huge. Blindside. I remember one big concert was, Michael may have touched on this because I went with him in Birmingham. Lincoln Park opened up. This was like,
dude, I know that tour because when I was in Wichita, it was there.
Yeah, I think it was Head PE, Project 86, and POD.
Crazy.
That may have been, something like that. I remember seeing Blindside with Project 86 and Stavesacre. It was a wonderful time. Oh, and one cool thing was Norma Jean. Before they were Norma Jean, were called Ludacris.
Yeah.
And I remember when I was maybe in 9th or 10th grade, they came to the Salvation Army in Opelika, Alabama, and played several times. So I was able to see them then.
That's amazing. Yeah.
They had a DJ in the band.
Yeah, I remember that. I saw them in Cornerstone, I think in 2000, something like that.
Oh.
Way back in the day. That's awesome, man. That's cool. I love that you brought up At the Drive-In because I've always loved that band. I got to see them open for Jimmy World in like 98 or something absurd.
What?
Yeah, like I knew who they were, but I didn't know much about them. But I remember seeing them, and I was like floored, completely floored. Like the singer was on one of the speakers just throwing pizza at people, and it wasn't a disrespect, but it was just it was an artistic moment, I guess, if you will. And it was just kind of one of those things that I'll never forget. And they blew my mind, and of course went on to be, a game changer for a lot of people, which is cool.
Yeah.
I love that you mentioned that because it's funny, in the 108-9 episodes I've done, no one's mentioned them as an influence, which I'm sure they are, but I think it's cool. Like, super underrated band. And
absolutely.
And I can see the influence, though. When you say that, I see it in Chasing Victory.
Yeah, they were big. I know Adam, our singer, he loved At the Drive-In. I loved him. I can't remember if the other guys did or not, but yeah, they were huge for me. I had a big poster of them on my wall.
That's so cool.
Growing up.
No, I really can see it in the music now that you said that. A lot of the start-stop, a lot of the, chaoticness with the melody. I mean, it totally makes sense that you would say that. And it obviously was subliminally, through your music, and maybe that's just kind of how it came out. And it's cool that it came out that way. Let's talk about the beginning. I know you weren't in the beginning of Chasing Victory, but, from an outside perspective, but maybe bring me through the beginning of that band from your perspective, and then you actually eventually joining the band. Yeah,
so I know Michael touched on this from with Blood Comes Cleansing a little bit. We were in a band, me, him, Cliff, and Mark, who were in Remove the Veil. But before that, we had a band called Vic Lacey, which was terrible, but it got us the opportunity, to learn how to write songs, play shows. So
sure.
That was really good. And then that broke up, and we started a band called Ascension and Escape, which I got that name from Hope's Fall. An interview I read with somebody from Hope's Fall.
I know what you're talking about now. Yeah.
And because I loved that band as well. And then Jeremy, who is a guitar player in With Blood Comes Cleansing, him and Michael were both singer screamers in this kind of hardcore band we had called Ascension and Escape with Cliff and Mark and another buddy of ours, John, who also played in With Blood at one point. They've had about 1,500 bassists. I don't know if you know that.
I've seen a lot of new people throughout the history, but yes, I get it.
Yeah, you're only allowed to stay in the band for about 15 days before they execute you, and they have to get a new member. It's just part of what makes them great.
Yeah.
So our band would play with Chase and Victory. They were from South Georgia. We were Opelika, Auburn, Alabama, and they would come through and play. We'd play in Columbus, Georgia, Auburn, and I was a Chasing Victory super fan.
Wow.
Super fan. I loved them. So every time we got to play with them and hang out, it was an absolute treat for me. Well, it ended up Michael and Cliff decided to quit Ascension and Escape one night. I thought that was going to be our life, and playing, and ended abruptly, and it was devastating.
I bet.
For me. Me and Jeremy were like, I don't know how we're going to carry on, what we're going to do. But then a couple days later, I get a call from Jeremy in Chasing Victory, and he's like, hey, Matt, our bass player, is want to just be our manager, and would you like to come play bass for us? Like, that was the defining moment in my life.
Wow.
Because I was like, I don't know how I'm going to tour. Another big influence on me was getting Henry Rollins' book, Get in the Van, On the Road with Black Flag. Have you ever read that?
I have not, but I've heard about it quite a few times.
Holy crap. It's his diaries and pictures from his time in Black Flag.
Wow.
And I was like, I don't care how poor I am, how tough it is, I just want to tour. But I didn't know how to do it.
Sure.
And, they were already touring, and they had already signed a development record label deal with Mono versus Stereo.
Sure.
In 2004. I think all of them were still in high school. I'm a year older than most of the guys. So I had graduated. They were still in high school, had a development deal, and then as soon as they graduated, Jason, he was younger, so he had to drop out of school, and they started touring, and toured for a few months before Matt decided to leave. I joined the band, and it was right when they were starting to write for, I call this abandonment, what would become.
Yeah.
So I came in, I had several riffs that turned into songs that were on the record. And so that was December of 2004. And that when I joined, and I basically just went and lived in Michael Lamb's, the guitar player's house. His parents were awesome.
That's amazing.
And I lived on his floor, and we wrote. I left home, and I was barely there again for the next 3-4 years.
Crazy, dude. Well, let's talk about let's talk about that record just overall. You mentioned it, and bring in kind of some riffs to it. Talk me through recording that record, and what it was like. Obviously you're new to the band, so was there obviously some excitement, and maybe just bring me through the recording of that record.
So I started off on bass. I ended up playing guitar. So we wrote this record. I played bass, but we spent from maybe December until June when we recorded it, going on the road and writing. That's all we did, was touring and writing. And we went to Nashville and recorded with this guy named Nathan Danzler, who was awesome. He recorded our first record and our second record, actually. And that recording process was so much fun. That was, nothing I had ever experienced before. But we felt confident, excited. We had played Cornerstone that year. As Cities Burns record had come out.
So good.
Son, I Love You, and which that record still bangs.
I know.
So hard. That had come out. He is Legend had put out I Am Hollywood. I don't know. It was just a lot of excitement.
Totally.
And, I mean, it felt kind of weird because I don't know. I thought we were great. But also, it's like, we hadn't even put out a record yet. Really.
Yeah.
So it was fun getting to tour, playing a lot of crappy shows, playing some good shows. And the recording process was super fun. They put us up in a hotel. We were, stayed up all night playing poker, watching, music DVDs. I remember Crutch, who joined the band during that time, to take over on bass. I moved to guitar and Jason decided to go to college after we recorded. And he had a video camera, so we started filming like we were on the real world. So I remember there's tons of footage out there that's probably absolutely ridiculous.
That's sick.
Somewhere in the vaults.
That's hysterical. Was all the songs written when you went into the studio? Did you write anything in the studio? And then also when it was completed, what were your thoughts when you heard it finally done?
I was blown away. I had never, recorded anything that sounded that good. And, the record label, Brad Moist at Monoverse Stereo, he was extremely supportive.
Yeah.
And, I think he was hands-on because he knew how young we were. So he was very encouraging, would give advice, but I think he also trusted us, a great deal. And, we had all the songs written, I believe. The only time we didn't was during Fiends. We got in there and Brad's like, hey, we actually got to write 2 more songs. So for a Best Buy promo deal, can you guys do that? Like,
wow.
Last minute. Which ended up, we wrote 2 songs that ended up making it on the record and 2 that had already been written didn't make it on the record.
That's funny.
So we had all that recorded. We were prepared, but young and, didn't really know what we were doing. Thankfully, Nathan was very experienced and talented.
Well, you mentioned Brad from Monoverse Stereo. Was he psyched on the record? I mean, I know you said he was kind of supportive, but I mean, I'm just curious I know you can't speak for him, but did he seem psyched on it and that he had something special?
Absolutely. I think everybody at Monoverse Stereo and Goatee, which, is over Monoverse Stereo, was very supportive. And I think Brad especially believed in us. And you could tell that makes a big difference. I know he worked his butt off. He'd let us stay at his house, let us come hang out in the offices. I would take CDs from the back and go sell them at local record stores so I could get money. He eventually found out about that. And, no, he didn't mind though. He thought it was funny.
That's funny.
He thought I was giving him away as Christmas presents, but I was like, hey, I can go sell these at Hastings and get some credit so I can get new music because I'm absolutely dirt poor.
Dude, I totally get it.
But no, he was awesome and has been, and he's still a good friend of ours. We talk to him regularly.
Yeah. Did you feel like I know you hearing it, you said you were blown away. Did you feel like you guys had something special?
I did. Yeah, I think we all really believed in what we were doing. That's the only way you can live that kind of life in which you're extremely poor and living on top of each other.
Yeah.
You have to believe in it, especially when you start playing a handful of crappy shows.
Sure.
And, sorry, I know my daughter Lucy's going to listen to this and be like, you said crap. No, you can't say that, Lucy. I can. It can be, you get homesick, you miss your friends, if you have a girlfriend, you miss your parents, all of that. So you have to believe in it if you're going to live like that. And we absolutely did. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, I mean, I know you kind of touched on this. I assume you touched on this a little bit, but looking back on it, it's about 20 years, 21 years, something like that. How do you feel about it now? I mean, looking back on that record.
Yeah, I've gone through phases. Right after the band, it was kind of hard to listen to that record. But over the last few years, I've grown to appreciate it a lot more. I think it's not as good as our second record, but it has, I think, a youthfulness to it. It has a rawness to the record that I really love in the recording.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard, I think, for every band of that time to get out of the shadow of Under Oath, They're Only Chasing Safety.
Yeah.
Because that was such a big band, and it was hard not to imitate.
Sure.
That. So we had to be very intentional with that. And I guess there are moments when I'm like, it's a little too, maybe too close to it, derivative. But I think overall, it's a solid record, beginning to end.
I think it is. I think it's really good. And in fact, like I said, having booked you guys, and then I wound up getting a copy, and I was floored. I mean, it was just cool. So the opening track is just like punches you in the face. It's just like,
yeah, it's a great opening.
I know, and that's kind of a precursor for the record. It really is just an assault from the very first moments of it, and that's kind of what I think probably connected with a lot of people. It's just an aggressive, melodic record that hit at the right time, and I can understand not wanting to copy Under Oath or whatever, but I mean, I'm sure there was an influence of sorts, and but you were still trying to stay true to who you guys were. And, just from an outside perspective, I think it's a fantastic record.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
I do remember, I mean, when that came out, there was a real feeling of pride and not knowing. It's always this unknown. You don't know what's going to happen with your record. Is it going to be received well? Is it going to be ignored? And there's something exciting about that, being a band and not knowing what's going to happen.
Absolutely. Did it sell pretty well?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by very well. I mean,
better than you expected, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know where it eventually landed. I think it sold about what I thought it would. Mm-hmm. It wasn't quite as big as, say, like As Cities Burns or He Is Legends. We were kind of a tier down from that as far as record sales. But I'm happy with it.
Yeah. And then, of course, it just got pressed for vinyl this past year, or I guess 2 years ago, I guess it was. Right? No? Was it Furnace Fest last year or this year? I don't remember.
It was 2020.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's probably pretty validating. Obviously, a work of art, and it's beautiful. It came out beautiful. I'm sure that was exciting for you guys.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anytime somebody cares about, something you've worked hard on, that feels great. And, I'm very appreciative. Yeah. That anybody still cares. Playing Furnace Fest was like, oh.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that anybody cares.
Wow. That's cool. I mean, it's funny because to hear you say that, I'm sure, I mean, if I was in your shoes, I might feel the same way, but it's like, as a fan, you guys did obviously, leave this mark on these people, and it's awesome that you get the validation for it, I think that's cool that it's a record that changed a lot of people's lives, and you guys got to put it out physically, and it's been an awesome experience for you guys to be able to reboot yourself somewhat, and it's cool. It's awesome. Well, let's talk about the touring after this record. Obviously you guys hit the road like we talked about earlier, man. I'm sure you guys were on the road a ton. Kind of bring me through who you kind of toured with around that time and kind of what that was like for you guys.
So when that record, right before it came out, we toured with Sub 7, which was an awesome band from Oklahoma, I think. Okay.
I've heard of them.
Man, they were great. And let's see, after that was the Southern Thunder tour with the Showdown and Maylene.
Yeah.
Which that tour was insane and awesome. Because that was Maylene's, I think it was their first tour.
Wow.
And their record came out shortly after ours.
Wow.
And they were automatically just popular just because of Dallas. And, the record was extremely fun.
Yeah.
And those guys were a little bit older than us. The Showdown were a little bit older than us. So it was fun getting to, they felt kind of like, I guess, bigger brothers.
Yeah.
To us. And then we did that. That was like a 2 or 3 month tour, I believe.
Oh.
Maybe not quite that long. And then I remember in December, January, we toured with Sullivan and Far Less.
Yeah.
Both of those Tooth and Nail bands. They were great. Wasn't a great tour. It was just
sure.
It was cold and not a lot of
Yeah.
people showed up. That
Sure.
that can be disheartening, but
Absolutely.
I don't know, we always had fun. That's the one thing about our band was miraculously, I guess the rest of the guys, besides me and the other Chris, we call him Crutch, we're from Alabama. The rest of the guys, they grew up together.
Yeah.
So they have a long history, and thankfully me and Crutch just came in and fit in perfectly. And we just get along very easily, even after being with each other all the time.
Yeah.
Which I know is a blessing, because I know it's not like that for
Absolutely.
most bands. Don't get that lucky. And then after that, I remember we toured with The Devil Wears Prada.
Okay.
Which was like their first headlining tour. And I remember we had to play, for the first part of the tour, play around Ohio, because the singer was still going to high school during the day and would drive to shows in the evening.
That's hysterical.
Yeah. And I think there was what was the name of that band? There was another great band that was on that tour. Kind of a progressive, metal band. And, it wasn't Protest the Hero, but some way just like that. It was.
I gotcha.
So yeah, after that, we did that during winter, spring. That summer we ended up, so that would have been 2006, we toured with Project 86, which was a huge thing for me. They were huge for me. That was one of the highlights. I remember we toured with Stretch Armstrong.
Wow.
Secret Lives of the Freemasons.
Freemasons, yeah, I booked them a couple times.
But Stretch Armstrong, another big band for me.
Yeah, great band.
Growing up, another solid state. So that whole time we're touring with those bands, writing in between for what would be our second record. And it was one of the best times of my life. We would write at Crutch's house. He lives in a place called Shinbone Valley, Alabama. Population 100. And it's out in the woods, country. There was a rope swing we'd go out on every day, between writing songs.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the second record, Fiends. Like you mentioned, kind of, tailing in from touring to writing the new record. Bring me through recording of that record and kind of your thoughts looking back on it. Maybe some memories from that time.
Okay. Actually, you know what? I'm going to throw you a curveball.
Okay.
And I don't know why I'm doing this, and forgive me. But one funny story, I want this to be in the
absolutely.
lore of Chasing Victory. Maybe it'll get put on Wikipedia. Was when we were on tour with Sub 7. Okay, we stayed with this weird guy who came to the show. He had to be in his 40s. He was in the pit just pushing people, going nuts, pushing kids. He's like, hey, come stay at our house. We go there. And we're walking around. He's hanging out with us, talking all this weird stuff. I don't see a single picture of him in the house. I'm walking around. I'm talking to Chris. I was like, is this weird to you?
I've heard this story before. Go ahead.
Well, this might not be that story. There is that story of the band who stayed with the kid who had killed his dad.
Maybe that's
and his
what
dad
I was
in
thinking,
the freezer while they stayed there. This is not that story.
All right.
But it's around that same time. It turns out he hadn't murdered his a family and moved in there. But it was just weird the whole night. He wouldn't leave us alone. And also, he's like, yeah, my sister-in-law, she's had a drug problem. She's living with us. She normally sleeps on the couch, but I'll put her somewhere else. Well, for some reason, I decided to sleep on the couch. And I remember we go in the house, and I'm like, I call couch. I'm all excited. Everybody else has to sleep on the floor. Well, it turns out from that couch, I got crabs.
Oh no.
Okay, and I'm sorry if this isn't appropriate for.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine.
So
you're good.
We're riding down the road the next day, and this is before I discovered the crabs. We're hanging out. A bee gets in the car, in the van. Adam swats it. It falls down, and I'm sitting in such a way that it goes down my pants and gets stuck in my pants.
Okay.
And so I'm freaking out. I'm lashing. My arms are akimbo, hither and thither, and I'm hitting myself. I get the bee out. A day later, I realize I have the crabs from this lady sleeping on her couch, which was a whole nother thing. Never dealt with anything like it. Don't want to ever again.
Yeah, that doesn't sound pleasant.
So, Jim, if you're out there, please don't invite bands to stay at your house. And I hope your sister-in-law's okay.
Oh,
but anyway,
God.
So we'll take
nuts.
that into your question of Fiends. Was that
Fiends? Yes.
So Fiends, we started recording in the fall of 2006. And this was, I felt extremely excited about this record. We felt like we had found what we really wanted to sound like. A little more mature, a little less, in the Under Oath E vein. And yeah, we went into the studio. We had 10 songs recorded. And Brad, our record label, he's like, we actually need you to write and record 2 more, for this Best Buy deal we're going to have. But we ended up writing the title track and, Queens, which is song number 4 track, ended up being, I think, 2 of the best songs on the record. We wrote those it had to be a day, 2 days. At least the music, and Adam was working on the lyrics. But that whole recording process was awesome. We were in a bigger studio in Nashville, again with Nathan Dantzler. We were playing Resident Evil 4 the whole time. Over there when we're not recording, we're playing video games.
Yeah.
We had a hotel room, and I had this 3x6 little closet I slept in the whole time so I could have my own room.
Cool.
I'm watching Lost on DVD.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was when that first came out,
Yeah.
And that was just the thing. Watching the OC, Dawson's Creek. All right. Big fans of the teen drama. We're
funny.
passing those discs around on our portable DVD players. But that was really cool. We had a deal also with PV in Gibson, so we were able to go to the PV warehouse and just borrow guitars and amps, which was awesome because it just gave us a whole range of sounds.
Yeah. That's cool, man. How'd you feel when it was finished? Were you psyched on it?
Absolutely. It was difficult in one way because Jeremy and Jason, their dad was diagnosed with cancer while we were recording that. Michael's dad had passed away, I forgot to mention this, the previous summer in an accident. So Michael wasn't there as much as involved in the songwriting because he was with his family. Then they found out their dad, Mr. Terry, had cancer. These are 2 great men, Lee Lamb and Terry Lowry, who were very supportive of us. So we lost them. My grandfather had passed away that summer as well. Gosh, I forgot all about this. So there was a lot of death and sadness. Yeah. But it was also really exciting because I think we were extremely locked in.
Yeah.
In writing the best music we ever had. And I think to this day that record holds up very well.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think you're having that hurt and the aggression and the frustration from what you just described? Do you think it kind of came out in the music?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't know. It's hard to, be able to point it out, a one-to-one correspondence of, here's where this affected
Sure.
this part of the song.
Sure.
But it did, because we were all very close with each other's families. So losing
it affected you all.
important people. Yeah, it was. So there was a little bit of, there was darkness and sadness mixed in, but also excitement. And it's like, okay, we know why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We have this idea that we can be, in our minds, we thought we could be the biggest band in the world if it, with some luck and continued hard work.
Sure.
You can't control the luck part.
Sure.
But we were doing the hard work.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you mentioned liking this record better than I call this abandonment, but just overall looking back on it, how do you feel about the record as a whole?
I think it's much more cohesive as a record. The songwriting's more mature. I think I listen to it. Well, gosh, I sound like an egomaniac. I listen to it all the time. We are our favorite band. But I do. I really enjoy it. It's been fun getting to share that with my kids. And I think it's a much more accessible record to a wider audience as well.
Yeah.
I think it's very cohesive. It's, just solid all the way through.
Yeah.
I'm proud of it.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully that'll get pressed on vinyl at some point as well. That'd be kind of cool.
It actually, like in 2017, I think it was pressed on vinyl.
Oh, was it?
But we weren't really doing anything, so no one, I don't think anybody knew about it.
Wow.
I have a vinyl. I don't know if they're still out there, but we have talked about doing a repressing of it.
That's cool. That's awesome. What was the reception like for that record? I mean, was it bigger than the first record, or
yes,
overall?
It definitely, sales were much better. It exceeded our expectations. And leading up to that, so that came out May 7th, 8th, 9th, sometime, one of those dates, of 2007. And leading up to that, we did like a 3-month tour with August Burns Red, From a Second Story Window, See You Next Tuesday, and Life in Your Way.
Wow.
Do you remember that band?
Yeah, great band.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That was incredible.
I bet. That sounds incredible. That's nuts.
It was arduous, I would say that, and we were kind of oddballs on that tour.
Yeah, I mean, what you said would sound like that, but
so some of the shows, I remember playing in Salt Lake City and in this huge room, and almost when we played, almost the whole crowd just went and sat down in the back.
Oh my!
While we played, and I remember, okay, you know what, we're just gonna have fun and show them. And I remember for some reason I wore flip-flops that show. So not only were they indifferent, they saw me step on my own flip-flop and fall over while playing, just to add to the humiliation.
Oh my gosh.
But overall, I mean, the shows were great, and we had a good reception in most places.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Let me ask you this. I know, having been at that time being on Mono versus Stereo, was there any other labels that were kind of hitting you guys up at all? Or, I mean, was that something that was even in the sphere of it?
Well, I know there had been, we were told that someone at, Tooth and Nail or Solid State had, talked to Brad about
buying you guys out.
Yeah, but for what Mono versus Stereo had put into us, they weren't willing to pay that.
Sure.
What it would take to get out of, that contract. And I think at the time in our minds, it would be like, oh, that would be better for us. But
sure.
Looking back, Mono versus Stereo was not a big label, but having people who believe in you
Absolutely.
and work extremely hard for you is worth more
Yeah.
than, being on another label. Again, that was all talked through our manager, Matt and Brad. So,
Yeah.
and there were a couple of other labels. I can't remember. There was one on the West Coast. We did a show for, like a showcase at, in Hollywood, actually. I forgot the name of the Whiskey A Go Go.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. They
Awesome.
came in, but nothing came of that.
Yeah.
I think it may have been a label with Scary Kids Scaring Kids.
Okay, yeah, I booked them a couple times. I think I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember what it was.
Yeah. So we put it out on Mono versus Stereo, and that came out, and we immediately went on tour with The Showdown and Showbread.
Oh, and I thought that's one of the tours I booked you guys on.
Oh,
sure.
Was that it? Okay.
Yeah, and I feel like that might have been at the skate park too. I'm not sure. But either way, yeah, no, I definitely remember that now. That's a crazy tour.
Yeah, and I mean, both of those bands I love, but most of the shows ended up I don't know what happened. Like, I don't know if a lot of the promoters didn't promote it well, or there just people weren't interested for some reason. Though I think with those bands, it should have drawn more,
Sure.
but it got very depressing.
Mm.
And so we're on that tour, and we're in El Paso, Texas. And we play this, just not a very good show. And I remember Michael came to us, and he was like, guys, I think I'm going to leave the band. I want to go back with, his dad had passed away, the previous summer, and he wanted to be with his family. And he's like, hey, I'm quitting the band. And as soon as he did that, for like immediately after, it was like, okay, well, we were going to call a friend, see if he wanted to come play, fill in for him. But about a day later, I think somebody else brought up, do we want to keep doing this? I'm kind of tired. And as soon as somebody else said that, and Michael had quit, and Michael is kind of he's the spirit animal of the band. He drove 90% of the time.
Wow.
He's this quiet, extremely sweet, talented guitar player. But him leaving, I think after that it was just, I don't think we can be a band without him. It didn't feel, at least to me, it didn't feel right. And I think we had all gotten girlfriends by that time. Adam had gotten married. And I think we were just tired of everything. I mean, this is 2 weeks after that record came out.
Wow, that's crazy.
Which is kind of depressing to think about. We didn't give that record a chance, to be successful.
Well, you just mentioned, it kind of all just made sense. I mean, when you finally quit, a month or two after, what were your feelings? What were your thoughts? Like, did you miss the road, or were you just kind of stoked to not be on the road?
It was a combination. And it was definitely, I think for the next year and a half, I didn't realize this at the time, but I was very depressed because so much of my identity had been wrapped up in the band. And I imagine a lot of band guys go through this. It's like all and you go from playing these shows where people are celebrating you, people are asking for autographs, and then a month later I'm working in the meat department at Kroger. And I'm like, well, this feels kind of human, because I'd see people who would come to our shows walk by and look at me in my hairnet, and you're like, what the heck is he doing?
Dude, I can't imagine. I know what you're saying.
Yeah, not that I was too good for it, but it was.
No, I get that.
It was humbling, and but it also forced me to grow up in a different way.
Yeah.
I had started dating the girl who would eventually become my wife. So we both started college at the same time, and that's how I started on
Your journey.
The journey to get here.
Yeah, I love that though. I mean, things obviously happen for a reason. And yeah, it's unfortunate that you guys didn't put, all of it in into that last record, but timing is everything, and it just kind of happened to be the way that it is, and looking back on it, it's probably a better decision. Could have ruined your friendships over time. It could have been a million different reasons or things that could have happened.
I do wish, I'll say this, I do wish we had at least stuck around a little bit longer for Brad and Mono versus Stereo, because they had put so much energy and money into it. But I think we were so defeated that we could, like, the thought of being on tour as soon as Michael said he was leaving was just too much.
I get that.
But I wish we had at least done that for them. But the thing is, when you're not doing it and thinking you're working towards this huge goal, touring is not worth it.
No, I get it. And at that time too, I know you guys you're saying you're opening for these bands, but I know what I was paying bands around that time, and I know it wasn't really at times a sustainable, amount of money. So I definitely can understand being disheartened or very like, hey, is this worth this? I totally, as a promoter, can relate to it on the other side of things, because there's nothing worse than paying a band, X amount of money and being like, I made more money than they did. And, it's not like a brag. It's more like, I feel bad. I gotta pay them this, that type of thing. But anyway, I say that to say I can understand, kind of when the first shoe fell, why the other shoes fell as well. It totally makes sense. And, you're look where you are now,
Yeah, I'm extremely grateful for how things have turned out. And the Chasing Victory guys, we have all stayed, I would say best friends.
I love that.
Since then. We have a couple of text threads. For some reason, there's several with different variations. We have like a music league that we're all a part of, which is a whole nother thing. It's kind of like fantasy football, but with music.
That's awesome.
And we have, our daily text thread. So it's constant talking, getting to know each other. We've vacationed almost every single summer since the band broke up.
That's cool.
We went to a couple of years ago. Well, me and Adam and Jason and our families went to Cancun together, which was awesome.
I bet.
But usually we'll go to a cabin or someone's house or go to the beach, and I'll just get together with our families.
Really cool.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. Speaking of, getting together, you guys got back together in 2017 and did the Friends EP. Maybe bring me through that briefly, kind of what spawned that, and kind of looking back on that EP, your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I think what led to the EP was we did one song together just for giggles, I guess. But we did a song called She Haunts Me. We put out, I think it was 2015 or 16. And then after that, we were like, well, this is kind of fun. We can write remotely using Skype, sending each other videos. And so we wrote these 4 songs that way. We would get together maybe once or twice to record at Adam's house. And then our friend Eric Chapman, he mixed it. He's a great friend of ours, very talented guy. He mixed it. I think he mastered it. I can't remember. And we put that out 2017. We played a handful of shows to kind of promote that, but we knew we couldn't do too much because we all have jobs. But we got to play a show with He Is Legend on that, which was a huge thing for me. We played with them over the years, but always just as kind of a support act, and it was cool getting to see them and play with them.
Yeah,
because they're one of my favorite bands.
Great band.
Yeah,
great band. That's cool. So, how do you feel about the EP? Looking back on it,
I think it's really good. I'm proud of all the songs. It was kind of a thing of, because we didn't promote it, it was just kind of came out and there was a little whimper, and then it was gone, which is always kind of disappointing when I don't know if we expected anything, because we didn't do anything to get attention.
Sure.
for it.
Sure.
But I guess you always want more people to I would love more people to listen to it.
Well, maybe some people will know today, and then they didn't even know it was out, And
I hope so. Yeah, I don't think most people know that it exists.
That's on all this? Is all on the streaming platforms and all that?
Yes.
Okay, cool, awesome, good to know. Future Chasing Victory. What's the future look like for you guys as a band?
Well, we've been writing and recording. We've probably started demoing about 5 or 6 songs, and it's just, again, for shits and giggles, just to have fun. And so I don't know what's going to happen with that. We're kind of just doing it as we can.
Yeah.
Adam has recording gear at his house, so I'll send him riffs. Jason sends him riffs. He lives in Atlanta. Jason and Adam live in Atlanta.
Oh, cool.
I'm in Birmingham, a couple hours away. Crutch is a couple hours away, and then Jeremy, I think he lives
is by me, St. Augustine. Yeah.
So it's a little harder for him to get together, but he's always the most I think eager and excited. He's such a driving force in the band. I think everybody has their role. He's one of the sweetest guys I've ever known. He's that part of the band that is the dreamer, the idea guy.
Yeah.
And, I think it's easily gets, we kind of tease him about it because he's the only one brave enough to throw out big ideas. And so he gets teased for it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I think while we tease him, I hope he also knows that it's also greatly appreciated. I love that about him. So I think you said you've gotten to hang out with him some?
Yeah, we went a couple shows together. I think we saw Emery and someone else recently. And we'll, every time I'm down that way, if I get a chance, I'll just shoot him a text and be like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? And I know he's busy. I think he's got a kiddo and a wife, and he's got his business and all that. So I know he's swamped. But yeah, it was really cool to reconnect with him. And I don't even know how we reconnected. We were at a show or something. And somebody was like, oh, that's blah, blah, blah. And I was like, what? And it had been 20 years since I booked you guys. So it was just kind of one of those, it didn't click in my head type of thing. And then, we were connected and it was just cool. It was awesome. And we've kept in touch, which is cool. But it was cool to run into you at Furnace Fest.
Yeah.
So randomly. It was just random how this even happened. But I just remember running into you and being like, oh, I booked you guys. And then I was like, I want to have you on my podcast. I want that type of thing. And now it's happening, which is cool. But just random how that happened, And
I was so eager. I don't know why. I was like, I want to come on and talk about Chasing Victory. I think I get excited about it. And I'm always excited that anybody still cares. That was like playing Furnace Fest again.
What was that like for you?
It was incredible. I did not expect it. I had nightmares all the way up to playing Furnace Fest. Like, what if there's nobody watching us? What if it's just a handful? I was like, man, that would be so disappointing. But we did it, and it was bonkers. It was insane. There were so many people singing along, and it really just made me feel good, appreciated, and appreciate all the hard work we put in. And the fact that anybody still cares is such an honor.
Absolutely.
So I love talking about it.
Yeah, well, you should.
I'm that old guy I'm that old guy that's like, hey, let me tell you about my band.
No, you should be proud of it. I think that's cool. It's really validating. It sounds like it was validating for you guys not only to play Furnace Fest, but have the turnout and the reception. I think that's got to make you feel incredible, and you deserve it. You guys are all great dudes. That's one thing I can say. Anytime I worked with you guys, I knew you guys were funny. I knew you guys were goofy. I knew you guys wanted to bro down and hang out. And it was just encouraging to see like you said, all that hard work kind of paid off in that moment and hopefully in the future, maybe other moments as well. So it's incredible. You should feel the love and know that, those records definitely mean something to people all over the world. So don't ever forget that. So.
Yeah. And even just getting to come on here is exciting. I saw you interviewed, I forget his name, from Plank Eye.
Oh, Eric, yeah, he's great.
Oh man, I saw that band right there. I forgot to mention them.
Oh,
I got 3 of their records when I was in 7th grade. The Spark, Commonwealth, and the One and Only.
Yeah.
Oh man, those
Game changers,
records
man. Yeah.
were so good.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It's been an honor to be able to talk to a lot of these people. It's just been so cool. Same with you as well. Yeah, man, it's been cool. It's been a wild ride for sure. Let me ask you this. I know you can't predict the future, Ben, but what does the future look like for you personally?
Well, I can predict the future, actually. It's a skill I don't advertise much because I don't want to get hounded. No, what does the future look like for me or the band?
We've discussed the band. I want to know personally for you.
For me, hopefully, successfully raising my kids. That's the biggest thing for me. I love getting to spend time with them and seeing them grow. They're 11, 8, and 6. And they have a wonderful mother, my wife, Jennifer. So just getting to live life with them, I see being a human as an art form and being able to do that well. If I can, then I'm going to be extremely proud. So doing that, I write and record, stuff. I put out stuff just on a Bandcamp under the moniker Vorgedal.
Oh, cool.
Vore and then Gidal. You can look on Bandcamp. It's just like me singing acoustic and other instruments. There's that. I had a band called Bottle Up and Explode. You can find that on Bandcamp. But I love creating. So I do woodcut relief prints. I don't know if you know what that is. But it's basically you carve out an image and put ink on top and
that's rad.
On paper. You'd know it if you saw it.
Yeah.
So that, making collages, I'm trying to get into bookbinding. I love reading. I'm a voracious reader. So yeah, that's what the future has for me. I'm an elder at our church, here in Birmingham. So we try to be very involved at Shades Valley Community Church. So I think if I can raise my kids into healthy adults and get to keep doing all that stuff, I will feel successful.
Absolutely. I agree with that completely. I love that. Chris, man, what an awesome conversation, man. I really appreciate your time, and it's been really cool to get to reconnect over the, last couple months. And like I said, seeing you at Furnace Fest, it's cool to be able to pin this down and just kind of hear your perspective on, the music that, you were a part of, and that's special to so many people. So I really appreciate you spending time with me and just telling me your life and your potential future. So I appreciate your time, dude. Hey, thank you, listener, for tuning in again and again. Really appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for everything. Really appreciate that. If you'd like to add me on Instagram and Facebook at The Rumors Are True Cast. If you'd like to like and subscribe, you know the drill. If you'd like to leave a comment, a review, or whatever, feel free to do that as well. Just be sweet to me. Just kidding. Thank you, Chris, for your time. Really appreciate it. It's been awesome to talk to you and get to hear your stories, so I really appreciate that very much, and I just really appreciate your time overall. So thank you, Chris, for that. Got some incredible artists on the horizon, guys, and you know it. Nostalgia is still a hell of a drug.
The podcast is produced by Wesley Hill, artwork by Jared Chase Bowser, and music by Brian Jaron. This episode is dedicated to the memory of my dear friend, producer, and man of many talents, Brian Jaron.